Good morning, second grade. Ms. Vogelman here today for your reading lesson. All right, today we are starting our learning fables. Our learning target today is I can read a folk tale and identify the moral or lesson. Last week we learned about fables. Today we are going to learn about folk tales. Fables and folk tales are similar and also different. A folk tale is a fiction story that has been passed down orally many years ago. Okay. The characters may be people or animals. Sometimes animals may have human characteristics. The story has often been told and retold orally before being written down. A folk tale reflects the customs or beliefs of the people. And folk tales may contain a lesson explaining something about the natural world. Fables and folk tales are similar. Folk tales may have humans or it may have humans as characters. All right, let's watch this short video on folk tales. Before we do, let me just make sure that I have shared my sound.
Today we will learn what is a folk tale. A folk tale is a fictional story that has been passed down from person to person for many years. Sometimes there are many different versions of a folk tale. You may have read these folk tales before. Little Red Riding Hood, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and the Three Little Pigs. Most folk tales usually have animals that act like real people, a lesson or moral, and a problem that gets solved in the end. Folk tales can come from all over the world. There are African folk tales, Chinese folk tales, Native American folk tales, and even Latin folk tales. Now that you know a bit more about folk tales, let's read one. Anansi and the Magic Stick, written by Eric A. Kimmel, illustrated by Janet Stevens.
All right, so today, now that you know a little bit about folk tales, we're going to be reading Jack and the Beanstalk, which is an example of a folk tale.
Jack and the Beanstalk. Adapted by Maura Alperin. Illustrated by Mark Chambers. Deep in the countryside lived a widow and her son Jack. Their cottage was crumbling and their clothes were patched. They were very, very poor. One day, Jack's mother said, "We must sell our cow. Take her to the market, Jack, and bring home some gold pieces." So he set off to town. But before Jack had gotten very far, he met a strange little man. "That's a fine cow," the man said. "I'll swap you 5 magic beans for her." "Magic beans?" said Jack. "Are they really magic?" "Magic they are, or chop off my beard and knit it into a jumper," croaked the little old man. Magic beans. Jack couldn't wait to tell his mother. He clutched them tightly and ran all the way home. Jack's mother was furious. "We need money, not useless old beans," she cried, and she threw them out the window in disgust. But But late that night, a tiny bean sprout poked out from the ground, and then it grew. And it grew. And it grew. And grew. The next morning, the beanstalk stretched high into the sky. The beans were magic, Jack cried. But what's that at the top? So Jack climbed up the beanstalk. At last, he reached the very top. There, shimmering in the sunlight, was a magnificent castle. Just then, Jack's stomach rumbled. I must find some breakfast, he thought. And he tapped on the castle door. The door creaked open, and a huge giantess smiled down. Hello, Jack shouted up. Please, do you have any food? You poor thing, boomed the giantess. Come right in, but quickly before the giant gets up. What a marvelous feast! There was an enormous loaf of bread and a gigantic jar of jelly. Jack dug in at once. But suddenly, the room began to shake. Oh my goodness, cried the giantess. He's coming! And she shoved Jack under a teacup to hide. Into the room stopped a big, scary, and hungry giant.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones into my bread.
Don't be silly, there's nobody here but us, the giantess scolded. Now go and wash before breakfast. Jack trembled. I must leave now, he thought. He was halfway down the hall when he heard a "Quack!" It was a hen with bright golden feathers. Help! She clucked. Set me free and I'll lay you golden eggs every morning. Jack scooped up the hen, but then he heard huge footsteps thundering after them. Jack raced out of the door. He jumped and slid down the beanstalk. Down, 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 all the way to his cottage. Mother, quick, bring the axe, he shouted. Jack's mother swung the axe at the beanstalk. It shuddered and shook, and then the giant came tumbling down. That was the end of the giant. Jack hugged his mother tight. Look what I found, he said, and he showed her the golden hen. Oh, Jack, said his mother, I'm so glad you're safe, and you were right about those magic beans. So Jack and his mother and the golden hen all lived happily ever after. And with lots of golden eggs, they were never poor again. And that's the end of the story.
Okay, so what happened in the beginning of the story? In the beginning, Jack goes to sell their cow because they are very poor. He runs into a strange man along the way. He sells the cow for magic beans. In the middle of the story, Jack's mom was very upset. She threw the beans out the window and then they turned into a huge beanstalk. Jack climbs up and sees a hen. He steals the hen, but the giant is chasing him. In the end, Jack escapes and gets away safely with the hen that lays golden eggs. Jack and his mom live happily ever after. What do you think the main character learned in the story? And what do you think the lesson of the story is? The main character learned that you can overcome obstacles. His problem in the story was that his family was very poor and they needed food. The lesson in the story is that you can chase your dreams and do hard things. So even though he was in trouble with the giant, he was able to get away and saved the day after all. All right, today there is a Google form in the virtual classroom for you all about this story. If you need to come back, feel free to watch the video again. All right, everyone, have a good day.